Derivatives trading involves substantial risk of loss and is not suitable for all investors. Past performance is not necessarily indicative of future results.
So stressful when the world's on fire. Good God. I can't look at this, guys. Like, my strategy is you buy it and you hope that you got a good spot. Yeah, but we all think you're crazy. You don't fight this. No way. The markets are freaking out and you don't think that anything is wrong? Come back tomorrow and I'll lose it all. Should be fun.
Good morning, everybody. It's Monday the 22nd. And I think we could have an interesting week ahead of us. I mean, last week was pretty interesting. So the markets are, going to see if where we go with this. Oh my gosh, what the heck is this advertisement that I've got here in can't even remember the name of the freaking application. Spotify. What the heck? Anyways, guys, I'm just coming over here like on the Dom. There's some big icebergs there to start the day out. So that is a little interesting for a Monday. All right, let's go to the charts and see where we're at. Make sure that's, yeah, okay. Over here. Okay, so ZN had that flight to safety overnight on Thursday night because of Israel attacking Iran, and that kind of risk premium has all died out, and we are now back towards the bottom end of the range. So now with that kind of geopolitical risk out of the way, are the treasuries free to go for new lows? I guess we'll see. Next week is going to be an interesting week because we got like a Fed meeting and we've got non-farms. So, all right, S&P 500. Not really actually doing all that much. Oil, man. Okay, so oil appears to be coming off. And again, the thing still appears to be that the market is demand constrained, or at least the analysts do not believe that the demand is there. So, but there's this thing that keeps going on, which is that it seems like OPEC, it's like if the US increases its production, OPEC just decreases their production. So, yeah, I think that oil could come back a little bit here, but not too much. But below 80, sure, below 80 maybe. Hey, here's gold and silver. They're kind of coming off. What about copper? Copper's still up there. Okay, so this maybe is some of that geopolitical risk coming out of gold and silver, perhaps. And we got the Japanese yen. Whew, okay, they still, and I mean every day they're saying stuff, they're trying to job on the market, they just cannot seem to pull the Japanese yen out of this dump down here. Dollar up near 106. And then we got Bitcoin, which, having tested 60,000 multiple times here, continues to kind of levitate up. The interesting thing I've been seeing in Bitcoin is that apparently Michael Saylor is just like outright dumping shares now. Like, what? And some people say, oh, well, he's dumping shares to buy more Bitcoin himself. I'm not sure I buy it. But, yeah, that could get interesting at some point, right? No, Bitcoin is, I'm sorry, but that's the dumbest thing you've ever said, Captain Price. That Bitcoin likes to be a safe haven? No way. Bitcoin acts like a risk on trade. So when we have like serious risk off events, and almost all of them we've seen Bitcoin decline. In fact, those two big declines that we were showing there on the chart when they were dipping below 60,000 were, I think, somewhat related to the whole Israel-Iran thing. And when COVID happened, Bitcoin sold off super hard. So from what I've seen, and keep in mind that there's no fundamental reason for Bitcoin to do anything, right? It's all just like what people believe in and what people do, because there's not like fundamental drivers of demand in Bitcoin, right? It's all speculation for the most part. And so the thing that's been driving demand in Bitcoin, as far as I can see, is inflation concern, right? So no offense. I feel like you've been around long enough that I could say that sort of a thing to you, but anyways. That it was going to moon 79K. Well, I think that in Bitcoin, okay, so this was all run up for the ETFs, right? Okay. My understanding is that ETFs does provide a certain amount of demand for Bitcoin. So I still think that there's a possibility for Bitcoin to go higher later in the year, especially if this inflation concern continues to be a thing. But it kind of depends on how it plays out, because it's going to respond to the money supply. So if we're really seeing M2 money supply going down, and that's kind of like the wild card, because I'm not 100% sure it will. I think it should. I think that M2 money supply should go down, but the government is still spending a lot, so it maybe won't go down. But if M2 money supply goes down, then I would expect Bitcoin to go down. So I think you kind of have competing drivers in Bitcoin right now, right? But the other thing in Bitcoin, I gotta say, is that like the hype is just not there anymore. Like they will come in and they will start making noise. They will get the news headlines, like they got the news headlines with the ETFs. But like, look at the way that this is played out with the ETFs. Like the public interest is just not there anymore. And I think that there's a large portion of the public that just hates Bitcoin so much now that it's like, it's hard for it to pick up traction anymore. So while I think that the ETFs could maybe bring in more money and the what is this, the halvening that happened over the weekend, that's something that tends to be good for Bitcoin price as well. But I think so maybe in the short term we could see a rise, and maybe we could see another like doubling. But in the longer run, I think that Bitcoin's prices are capped. Like they're just not going to run like they did before. Oh yeah. Let's hear. So we have Uzi here. Yes, we do, because I did finish that little programming thing that we were going through on Friday. It actually after the stream, and then I went through and looked at everything, and it was actually working really well. And the only thing that was missing was that it wasn't exporting the first day. So I fixed that, and once I fixed that and started doing some runs, I got some pretty decent results. So let's see here. If I come here and look at optimizations, one thing that I did was I let it, do a negative reward factor. So like a 0.5. So this is one of the first ones that I've gotten where when I optimize it based on Sharp ratio, for instance, that it goes towards the 0.5 instead of one or a higher reward factor. So here's one with a reward factor of 8. Oh, I don't really like that one though. It's a very, very low percentage hit rate. I had one over here that was this. Oh no, that's interesting that I was running it on NQ. Oh, Smitty, welcome to Deluxe. Thank you very much. You didn't have to do that. Deluxe gives you the secret channel on Discord that we never use. So you should go make sure that you got that set up. Well, maybe it was, should we look at this one? I think it was this one. Yeah. See, these ones up here. That one was the most profit I got out of it. But I think I did a little bit of other stuff to try and get more trades and so forth. But here's one where it's, let's see here. The reward factor is 1. So if I open in a new strategy analyzer tab and make sure that save history is checked. You see how quickly it runs, by the way? That's the power of caching. So order flow, strategy, but caching. Right? I don't know. You say as a foundational rule, how would we, that's like a big assumption, right? As a foundational rule. I don't know. I think that probably that the case here is that I don't know if like where the point of control is necessarily like really even matters, but that you're having a trend and you continue to see volume pumped into it, that matters. That seems to matter. I don't know if we really, I mean, that would be something that based on kind of what we know about the market, I would think matters. So like, I think it's a good place for like, you know, like a good theory sort of a thing. So here we're trying to test it. Well, I can only test a year's worth of data. So we kind of have to take these results with a grain of salt. Plus, there's a little bit of, how do you say, fitting here, you know? But, you know, when you come and you do the analysis on it, like, that's not terrible. That's not terrible at all. And if I come back to this one and I look at these ones with more trades, like this one. Here again, use the save history so that we can see the more detailed statistics about it. Oh wow, when I clicked save history, something changed. Oh no, it was 7,000 before. Yeah. Yeah. When you start applying different rules to it and backtesting, well, no, I mean the whole thing is okay, so like, let me back up. When you say as a foundational rule or as a base, where the point of control throughout the day and the RTA session is worth paying attention to. So that is a theory, and and how did we arrive at that theory is the question, right? Well, I think it's logic, right? So whenever we're making a theory based on logic, like the first thing that we have to realize is that human logic can be very, very flawed. And why is that? Well, because we have all of these assumptions built into those sorts of things that, you know, may or may not be true. Like, so why would we assume what is sort of the logical assumptions behind that theory? Well, that the point of control matters in the first place. Like, does the highest volume node of the day actually matter? I'm not sure that it does. Okay. So whenever we have a theory, we want to be able to verify it with empirical evidence, right? That's like the true test is to actually see it in action against the real world. Does it result in what we want, right? So that's why we're going to have to come back and backtest it. Now, backtesting can be a complicated thing, of course, right? So maybe if I come through and I do a backtest, you know, that might not necessarily disprove the idea or make it that like the idea is not worth pursuing. It's just that you may have to continue digging and make a better strategy or something like that, right? So here's one attempt to try and backtest it. And I'm able to get okay results. I'm able to get okay results from this over a year time frame. Over a year. So Sharpe ratios between 0.5 and 1. High probability trades. Like this one right here to get 54% on an equal risk reward. That's pretty good. That's really hard to do. It's not the first time I've done it, but it's really hard to do. So I think we could say that there is some, I think that we have some good looking evidence, but nothing conclusive to say that it matters. But I do think that if you're getting a trend and they continue to put volume into it, that is something that appears to, that I would definitely look at. With backtesting, I'm saying you have to trade parameters for the backtest. You have to program those parameters. Yeah. Oh, that they don't have to be static. Yeah, actually, so that's an interesting point. So I think for this particular one, I think that you do want them to be static. But that's because we're like doing a statistical like analysis of when the point of control changes, right? That's what we're trying to do. I don't think that having the ADX and the rock thresholds and everything and the periods like dynamic would really help in this situation, because most of the time it doesn't change. And so now maybe there are better statistical measures that are better for something that doesn't change very often. You know what I mean? No, but that's not true. To say no matter what, there's no empirical... No, but that's not true. For instance, there's a substantial amount of evidence that a momentum strategy in the past has worked. And a lot of the research that we've done in market microstructure is to try and... Oh, okay, read the first comment. All I know is if I were in your boat and I can program things as quickly as you can, and I understand that the more popular a strategy is, the less effective it becomes, I'd have a lot of incentive to say that no matter what those neuroempirical anything were... Oh, okay. So, what should my response to that be? If I found something that works, I definitely keep it to myself. But I have never found anything that, like, quote unquote, works, at least to my standards, on an intraday basis. So I do find things from time to time that show enough of an aberration for me to be like, okay, that's an interesting thing that we learned about the market, but never anything that's like, oh, that's a strategy you should trade. With watching the point of control, the thing I like is that it doesn't change throughout the day with hyper, so it's naturally something that won't suck you into making 100 trades a day. Well, yeah, so over a year, it made this one right here, made 1,000 trades. Well, 1,500 trades. So that is about 5 trades a day, actually. So it's interesting. I can tune it, right? So there's like this rock threshold, and I can adjust that threshold and this ADX threshold to make it more or less sensitive. And because these ones over here where it's like 491 trades, that's probably more realistic. This one, it seems like it's almost taking a trade like every time that it changes. I think. So, I don't know. Couple of things that I noticed about this, by the way. Was it this one or was it this one? One of these. Oh. The first time I did the back test, it was like a lot of the losses came from one bad loss, and I was like, oh, well, You add the risk rules right there, and that would probably almost double the effectiveness of the net results. It also kind of shows you how like 1 year actually isn't enough data. Like when you come in these MAE and MFAs, right? There's a lot of these out here where it's like, oh hey, if it doesn't go after what, you change it to ticks. If it doesn't go for you after, if it goes like 30 ticks away from you, it's probably best to just bail on it, right? So you can optimize there. MFE, you could optimize here. Like there's a lot that actually get a little bit of favorable excursion, which is probably why it works, you know, pretty well when you have the small reward factor, essentially. Okay, so I don't think we should use the word momentum. Would high volume following the direction of a move be a qualifier for momentum? I think, just like in terms of like words and the way that we use words, I feel that it would be more useful for people if we reserved the word momentum to represent something that's happening more on a daily basis. Right. So to me, to say something is in momentum means that when I come over to a daily chart, that we're busting new highs and the moving averages are all, you know, filters are in the right places. So in the S&P 500, we could maybe say that we're in short momentum. On the treasuries, I definitely think we could say that we're in short momentum, or we have been. So momentum is more of a daily basis, right? So on a daily basis, could we say, would a high volume following the direction of a move would be a qualifier for a large meta order, right? We're probably getting a large meta order, which means that we're likely to get like trend continuation. Yeah, so momentum is more of a broad. Well, I mean, I think that in the trading world that we use the term momentum kind of interchangeably with trend, right? And I don't think that we should, because the momentum strategies were higher time frame strategies. So like that's where I think that the retail traders make the mistake, right? Is that we think, okay, stocks have a tendency to trend. Ergo, if I see a little bit of a move, I should be able to get in on it and, you know, ride that for all it's worth. And then my winners will be so big they make up for my losses and I make money. Well, okay, that's true on a daily chart, but not on a 1 minute chart. On a 1 minute chart, the number of times at which you're going to get a signal that the momentum is coming in will be too high. Your winners won't make up for it. You won't be able to stay in your winners long enough. So it doesn't work, right? So on a daily, so my what is my proposition is that on a daily basis that we should just be looking for evidence of large meta orders. And since the tape alone is not a very good predictor of that, like we have to be able to predict those meta orders before they come to some extent. Okay. Yeah. I'd say Bots was your mentor. Are you gonna ask like what did he believe? Because he spent a lot of time on technical analysis and things that these days that I'm like, nah. I gotta tell you, part of the reason why I came to where I am is that like every time that we had like some sort of a strategy, we're like, oh, this seems like really good, and then I was like, oh, I can backtest this. It never worked. It was always like, I can't tell you how many strategies, dude. Like it was, you know, because there was many times during that time period where my day job was not really very demanding. My day job today is so much more demanding than my day job was like, 5 years ago. But oh my gosh, we would like back test things and like adjust the strategy for hours all day until it was like time for him to his wife drag him away because it's dinner time. So the thing that is like, I think the most valuable information, this is so funny, but like the most valuable information that I got from him was things that he didn't really think that much about. Like, oh, it's an auction day and it tends to move up on auction days, and it tends to move, it tends to move up, and it tends to move more at the first and last days of the month. And like all of these kind of little nuanced things about just the way that the treasury market works that, I don't really see a whole lot of information about online. I'm sure it's all there because he had to have learned it from somewhere too, but it's just like he picked up little bits and pieces there and shared that with me. And just like, oh, I don't know, it was lots of things. Now there are some things. There's one thing that was like one of the biggest edges for him that I see, and I come in and like it's another one of those like, it sure seems to me like there's something there, but I can't prove that there is. Right? And I think I actually backtested this one once and did find a statistical aberration there that supported the idea. It just wasn't like profitable on its own. Okay. So take this one with a grain of salt. But single prints. So like if I come over here to a 30-minute chart, a single print is kind of similar to these fair value gaps that people talk about, which is like, well, so how do I explain this? So the difference, a fair value gap is like, if you take the low of the bar before it and the high of the bar after it, there's kind of this gap area. Hold on, why is my pen not working here? Well, anyways, right, there's a difference between the low of the bar before and the high of the bar after, and so there's that gap. That's like considered a fair value gap, right? But a single print is just prices that were like only touched once. Okay, so like this whole move up here has single prints on it, and the theory is that when you get to the end of the single prints, there tends to be pushback. There tends to be pushback after the single print. So like a better example would be like over here. Okay, so like we have single prints all the way to 109.20. So if we were getting a really strong uptrend and we were somewhere up there, and I was getting to 109.20, that would be a potential area to look at taking profits, because there tends to be some sort of a pushback at that price. And it's really weird when you watch them. It really is like, you'll come here and you're watching the DOM, and that's the price. And as soon as that price touches, you'll see market orders come in, push the other way. It's a really weird thing. But like I said, when I backtested it, I couldn't get that to be like a profitable strategy. Like I saw some evidence to suggest that it does happen, but that on its own it wasn't profitable enough. Which I think just kind of comes back to like the larger idea, right? Like the bigger theory. The thing that makes the most sense to me, based on everything that we have, is that while there are some kind of like small statistical aberrations that you get on an intraday basis, they are so small relative to the larger trends that come through because of meta orders and so forth, that they just don't help you make money on a short-term basis. And I think that kind of makes the way that things are like make way more sense, right? You if you're using like momentum on a daily basis, there's some evidence that works. You're still stuck with the rules that, like, you know, the more there's only so much edge into something and that sort of a thing. Okay. When you go higher time frame, it works. When you go smaller time frame, it can work because you can, you know, keep yourself only in the market when that particular thing is happening, and you can do it a lot, and it's high frequency trading, right? But as a retail trader, and you're trying to take a trade that's like a few minutes to maybe a few hours sort of a trade, it's just like it. We can't seem to find a profitable strategy. I'm not sure that you can. So yeah, bots used to run a like a chat room essentially. So what happened was I met him through his room, and he had the thing where it was like, oh, we'll let you use it for like 2 weeks or whatever. And I did so much programming with him that he was like, okay, I'll let you stick around if you just, you know, help me program these things. And then the people in the chat room, they got access to a lot of these indicators that he made. So it was always like, here's a statistical indicator. I think the best one that we did was the adaptive CCI. I still use that. It almost always helps my back tests when I use adaptive CCI. Doesn't seem to work on its own, but like you combine it with some other things, there's some weird stuff with it, right? But it's just like, again, on a short-term basis. When you combine all of those things with like being informed, can that maybe help you? Maybe. But I kind of feel like that just being informed helps you so much that all of those other things are kind of trivial and don't really matter. You know? Like part of the problem is the market is really complicated. And to really have an effective analysis of the market, you have to be fairly sophisticated, especially when you're talking about like really short time frames. But you can't trade that way. Like the more decisions, the more complicated that it gets when you're actually trading, the more difficult it's going to be for you to execute. And so the whole thing is that you have to be able to find a way to make like a really sophisticated analysis, but simplify it for when you're actually trading, you know? And so the more tiny little things that we're looking at and incorporating into our analysis, like the more difficult that becomes. So we don't want to include things in our analysis unless we really, really have strong evidence that it's very effective. And that's kind of the whole problem. So for me, like I know enough about the market microstructure and the things that we see on the DOM to say that like there's a real benefit to that because it can keep you out, right? So we include that. Single prints, I guess they don't matter that much, but I guess when they do happen, I am actually kind of paying attention to them, just kind of out of habit. But you're right. I think that he spent a lot of time on these sorts of technical analysis sorts of things. Like, you know, the interesting thing is that, as far as I can tell, where he made most of his money was looking at a volume profile and taking swing trades on a volume profile. I think, yeah, you come in and you watch a volume profile and with kind of like the traditional volume profile rules, but like you're holding it all day in the treasuries, that could probably work pretty okay for you. After COVID, that stopped working for him. After COVID, he changed to trading ES on the London Open. And then he passed away. But I digress. My larger theory is that the issue is the time frame. The time frame that we want to trade in as day traders, technical analysis is not very useful. That's my theory. It's a theory that should be very easy to falsify, right? But I've been trying for years. I can't seem to falsify this. High frequency trading works. Swing trading can work, although it's hard. You might not make as much as if you just bought and hold. But like the intraday day trading, technical analysis on the intraday day trading is not very effective. Well, we're at 25.5, by the way. I was kind of, when we came into this, I was kind of wondering, okay, are they gonna kind of continue or set the pace for the week and sell it? But that doesn't appear to be happening. I'm not seeing enough on the flows to say like this is a large meta order, will continue moving up. But yeah. By the way, I never filled this out. Let's put this Monday constrained flows. No news, right? Or let's double check that. We don't have any major news today, do we? Oh, we do have no economic news, but we do have 6-month bills auction. Yeah, auctions today. We're also still in blackout period until 26th, so until the end of the week. Okay. Equities earnings. And let's say CTA is still selling, but not as strong. So that tells us a lot about what we might see over here in the ES. I'm expecting the ES to be a little bit more range bound to down, but in the treasury, it doesn't give us a whole lot to go on. Shall we say that? Suggest equities will be range bound to down, but doesn't give us much for treasuries. Oh yeah, I guess the thing going back is like, is he really your mentor? I think so, because I learned more about the market from him than anything else. And I definitely like the whole personality, like this, especially the cynicism that let's just like, okay, as soon as I get into the trade, it's gonna start going against me and all of that sort of stuff. I definitely picked that up from him. New York Stock Exchange tests views on round-the-clock trading. So what if they still had the closing auction and all of that sort of stuff, but equities continued to trade after that? Overnight trading, 24/7 trading. I bet that the New York Stock Exchange would make more money from that. Yes. I don't know if that would be good for us. Like, probably what it will do is it will just encourage retail traders to I mean, like, the thing is you can trade overnight, right? There are aftermarket, trading. The liquidity sucks. So nicey doing that would improve liquidity. But I don't think that it would be enough for trading that to really be sensible, Maybe level the playing field? I don't know. I guess so like here's another thing. It's like where do I get a lot of where I come from? Like my approach to markets, what are the things that have influenced me the most? Okay. I think the thing that probably influenced me the most was the one opportunity that I got to speak to a block trader at Goldman. Okay. That influenced so much. And like I started with, that was like, here's technical analysis that made me kind of question that and kind of, answered a couple of major questions. So like one of the major questions that like I would ask yourself in terms of where do you fall in philosophy is like, how hard is it to move the markets? Because most retail traders have this idea that moving the markets is extremely, extremely difficult, right? And I started out knowing that it's not, that it's actually very easy to move the markets. Sure, a retail trader can't do it, but most of the participants that are out there actually trading on a daily basis do have the power to move markets. So from that perspective, markets are very easy to move. And that's the big factor that you have to take into account. And there's a lot of kind of consequences that come from that, right? I knew all of those things from day one because I was talking to the block traders at Goldman, right? I think that reading a lot of Gary Norton's stuff at the beginning really helped as well, because that kind of helped me piece together a framework for how a professional trader would approach things. And I also think that he explains enough of that stuff for you to kind of understand why they do it that way and apply it to creating your own systems, right? So I think that helped a lot. But I think that the one that has influenced me the most is Jean-Philippe. Jean-Philippe's research, the best stuff that I've got all comes from Jean-Philippe Bouchot. So I guess I could maybe kind of consider him a mentor to some extent. I don't know. I think at the end, I mean, it's kind of crazy to think that, like, from that perspective, I'm probably a mentor to a lot of people. I don't really, like, act like that, but I am, like, how do we say it? Like, the gateway drug for a lot of people into the future space. So I think you just like saying you're mentor. Well, it seems a little not right to me to call somebody your mentor that you don't really have a whole lot of interaction with, right? But so it's probably better to say that they were one of the largest influences on my trading. Right. Versus with me, I'm like actually directly talking to you guys every day, right? So I am kind of mentoring every day to some extent, right? Or collaborating every day. That's another way of looking at it, is like John was like my most prolific collaborator. And my understanding is that he collaborated with a lot of people, that he was doing that sort of stuff with a bunch of people. Because I met like two other guys that had also been writing stuff with him. So it's interesting to think about. It's also, I'm still just shocked that he died so quickly. Like, I remember thinking, oh, I mean, if I know anybody that might die from COVID, it'll be John. But I don't think it was COVID that killed him. And you know what? I think he played me, man. Well, should I say play me? Nah, I hadn't heard from him in like a month. And he came back and I was like, oh, is everything okay? He was like, oh yeah, we were just, doing something or whatever. I think he was lying. I think he was like in the hospital that whole time. My world isn't filled with money-focused people, so investment is a boring topic unless it's lottery tickets. Well, but that's... I tell you what, that's the weird thing. Okay, so like... if your goal is just to make money... Well, first of all, day trading is probably not the best place to do it, right? There are lots of ways to do it through business, though. And so you can find mentors that will mentor you through business. And I think that the sorts of things that you would learn from them would be completely different, right? Like that's the thing. And this is why I think that younger generations have kind of soured on capitalism. Because if I'm going to have like a successful business, for instance, what actually leads to having like a successful business? Well, relationships with other people are probably one of the most beneficial things. Like the wealthy and the network that you get from having access to other wealthy people. And it's about access to capital. Like the thing that is most correlated with success and business success is access to capital. It really is. And so the sorts of things that they might teach you will probably have more to do with like how you maintain those relationships rather than like some sort of statistical understanding of the market, right? What we do is maybe more pure or more traditional view of like how you're supposed to gain an advantage and how capitalism works, right? And the reason why younger generations, I think, are rebelling is because we keep saying that this is how capitalism works. And they can see it now. Like, they have enough information through the news and in talking with other people all around the country on social media and stuff to see that it's really not what we've been told since the 80s. It really isn't. I think generations are rebelling because their parents basically left them to the wall. I mean, that's a factor too. But it's almost in a way saying the same thing, right? Is that like the baby boomers, when you really trace through it all, the pathway of the baby boomers is actually really, really, really interesting, right? Because you're talking about people that like, okay, they were born in the 70s and then, or sorry, they were maybe born in like the 50s, right? Born in the 50s, were like teenagers in the 70s, right? And then in their kind of more, let's not say peak earning years, because I think peak earning years is more like 40 years old, right? But like the 80s and 90s when they were 20, 30, 40, right? And then the 2000s, they were 40, okay? So they started out being hyper liberal hippies, essentially, and that whole thing that they went through with the Vietnam War and everything. And then they had this shift in the 80s, because what happened in the 80s was, hey, this isn't working anymore. We've gone too far left, and we need to enable free markets. And so during Reagan, we made that shift back towards free markets and, everything that's gone on since then, right? And the baby boomers, I think, the successful baby boomers at least, really leaned into that understanding of the market. So they still kind of believe it. And because of that, they left their kids to the wolves. They did. They did. But like, that's the whole thing is that their kids are like, we were told one thing, and then we grew up and we realized that thing is just subjectively false, but the baby boomers can't see it. And to be quite frank, and one of the things that frustrates me the most with the right side of the political aisle is that they refuse to see it either. They think that everything with capitalism is just hunky-dory, and that if there's at all a problem, it's that we regulate too much, right? They won't acknowledge that there are built-in inefficiencies and built-in structural inequalities built into the system that in order for our society to progress further, we're going to need to address. Right. The left understands this, or at least they intuitively understand it. They don't necessarily understand the structure of the market and all of those sorts of things. And so that's why all of their solutions are so terrible. That's why all of their solutions are so terrible, but at least they understand that that's part of the problem, right? Baby boomers sitting in casinos losing the wealth we're all paying the price for them to have had the opportunity to accumulate. Well, I think that what's going to happen is the end of life care is going to be very expensive. It's kind of wild once you understand how money moves through the economy and everything, and how we can kind of shift where the money is coming from, right? Like in the recent past, it's really been in the tech sector, and you can kind of see how that went through, that like Google and Apple and Microsoft were hiring these people that weren't really doing anything and paying them like insane amounts of money. They've let a lot of them go now, but now the thing is government. So I was watching this video yesterday on TikTok that was incredibly fascinating, and it was this guy goes to an anime convention and asks the cosplayers what they do for a living, and the number of people there that said what they did for a living was they worked for the government in some capacity was crazy. It was like half of them were working for the government. But in the current economy, that makes sense. Like, the government is growing, private sector is not growing, as we understand it from the numbers. And the government is like basically pushing out private investment. So the kind of people that would have the money and the free time to be able to do cosplaying are more likely to come from people working for the government right now. Isn't that wild? That is anecdotal, but we know from the broader numbers, like the job numbers and stuff, that government is doing a lot of the hiring right now. Right? So that's all going into, that's basically, we're shifting the distribution of capital from certain moves that the government makes. It kind of shifts it, right? And as the baby boomers start to age out, you're going to see more of that shift into the healthcare segment. And where does it go from there is kind of the interesting, like, what are the second and third and fourth order effects of that? As I can only guess. Oh, we are so screwed when you get to about 75 to 80. Anecdotal, yeah, sorry, I always say it wrong. Purchase a book die with 0, getting all you can from your money and your life. No, I've never heard about that. My plan is to leave as much of it to my children as I possibly can. Right? Because again, the thing is access to capital, right? So especially when they're like in their 20s, if you can help them have access to capital so that they can take risks early, right? Much more likely to be successful, and then you can have billionaire children. I don't know if Elon Musk's parents were like hyper wealthy, but they were like upper middle class still. It's a matter of time before the government comes to the same conclusion here that it did in Canada. Killing people is cheaper. No, I don't know. I don't think that it will. As long as the healthcare system is not socialized, there will be tons of money, and people will be willing to pay tons of money to stay alive as long as possible. I think I bruised the bottom of my foot yesterday. I like ran and stopped really quickly chasing my son, and I think I bruised like my toe. So I'm constantly getting these things where it's like the next day, then I notice that it's there. Oh, I did this. Can you see this on my arm? Oh yeah. Oh man, that looks terrible. I was getting out of the shower, and the handle on the shower has a sharp edge, and it just... And it didn't bleed, but man, it got me. And I'm afraid that's going to be like a nasty scar someday. My shoulders look so puny right now. I need to work on that. I need to build them back up. I don't know. I think so the issue that I see right now is that baby boomers will have more wealth to pass down than any other generation. A lot of it is going to disappear because of the end of life costs. It will. Okay. But generations before that often weren't able to pass anything along. Okay. So more people will be getting some degree of inheritance. The issue now is that it's too late, right? They're not getting it like millennials aren't getting it from their baby boomer parents probably until they're well into their 40s, until they're like already into peak earning years. So, you know, it would be better. It's better to get that sort of inheritance when you're like 20. You're like 21. So I guess what you do is you just skip a generation, right? And you just pass it down to the kids. We'll see. That's what I'm trying to do. I got a little bit of money, and I basically put it all into funds that my kids can use for school. So I'm hoping that I should be able to get the kids all through university without taking on college debt, and that alone would be a huge gift to them, right? Because I don't have any student loans. I didn't have any student loans, and that seems to have helped me a lot. We come back to 23. It's kind of been more like they've been hanging out at 23, 22, and then they'll bounce and come back. So we'll see if they ever eventually decide to test the other side of it or not. The dollar looks like it's on an okay run. But most markets aren't really doing anything too interesting today. It reminds me, so going back to kind of the political connotations, so there is political stuff to talk about today, right? I still consider myself a Republican and a conservative, and I consider myself a conservative in like a traditional sense that change is a difficult thing to do, especially on such a complicated system, and that it should be done incrementally and intentionally, and with certain conditions being met, and so on and so forth. Because that's, I think, the difference between a liberal, like a progressive and a conservative, let's say. Progressive and a conservative. A progressive just wants to tear down the current system in any way that they can. And the conservative is kind of more like, okay, there are some things that we have that are really good we don't want to ruin, right? Because it was very difficult for us to get to this point. And I don't really feel like that the Republican Party is a conservative party in that respect anymore. I feel that the Republican Party is basically the anti-government party. It's the anti-government everything, which is not necessarily conservative. And it's all of the people that have been disaffected by neoliberal policies, essentially, right? So the Republican Party frustrates me sometimes, and all of this stuff that I've seen over the weekend with the Ukraine bill really, really frustrates me. Like, I think that it made sense to try and go for getting something in return. Like, the Ukraine funding needs to happen. Democrats should be willing to pay something for it, and you should be able to get some sort of a border reform bill. Now, there was this like so-called compromise bill that came out of the Senate, but that bill was so dumb. You will see, especially on Reddit, I tell you what, this narrative pushed that they only killed the immigration bill because Donald Trump wanted to be. It's total nonsense. The bill was a non-starter. There was so many awful things in there that were so toxic to the right. Like, one of the things was that they still allowed a certain number of people to come through the border a day, and it was like towards the higher end of the number of people that come in already. So it didn't actually reduce the amount of illegal immigration that was going to come through at all. Right? That was one of the big killers for it. Okay. But still, they should have been able to come up with a good compromise somehow, right? Democrats were not willing to give anything for it. They were not willing to give anything for it, and they were willing to wait it out. That was the thing that surprised me, was that they were all acting like that aid for Ukraine was like dire straits, like it had to happen now or it would be the end of the world sort of a thing. And it wasn't. It wasn't. They were willing to wait it out. But it was something that probably had to happen one way or another. And I think that if I was in Congress, I probably would have voted for it, to be honest with you. Because it did need to happen. And it's kind of like, well, we can't get any kind of a deal out of it. We tried. It's time to give up on that. Because if we let that wait until after the election, then there's going to be real problems. I think even Donald Trump said something to the effect of, like, that it's important to the United States to not let, what happens in Ukraine is important to the United States, is I think what he said. But anyways, so Johnson, he decided to bring it up, and I think it makes sense that he did, because 100 Republicans voted for it. So it was like 50-50 on the Republican side. And I don't think that you can hold back something that important that half of your caucus wants as speaker. Like, that's very difficult to do. And speaker is in a vulnerable position. There would be a point at which I think that they would call a vote and would put some Republicans would cross over and put a Democrat in charge in order to get the Ukraine funding. Like, honestly, that probably was a possibility. So it makes complete sense to me what happened, okay? But what frustrates me, man, is like the whole reaction to it. Like people on the right are like, oh, this is such a betrayal, and they're, Johnson is clearly not a Republican and all of these sorts of things. No, I'm sorry, but putting a bill out there and voting for a bill that was like 50-50 within your caucus and was of that much importance is not some litmus test for whether or not you're a Republican. But, and I think it will probably be even more extreme today. Like, there's going to be lots of wailing and gnashing of teeth about that we funded Ukraine. Because there's a group of people on the Republican side that just don't want any kind of foreign aid whatsoever. They don't realize that it's a drop in the bucket compared to the other problems that we have. But whatever. Majoring Taylor Greene, MTG. She was super upset about this. Whenever I read her tweets, I don't know why, but I can't help but think of Robin from Dune. You know, the guy that plays the reddish alien in Guardians of the Galaxy. And wasn't he originally in Game of Thrones? I don't know where he came from that he became popular from, but really big muscular guy, right? You know, in Dune, he comes to him and he's like, "Uncle, how can you let them do this to us? They've taken everything." No. Right? That's how I picture it. And then you got Donald Trump coming up out of the bath. You know, except for he would still have the hair. In this version, he'd still have the hair. You know. My border. No. That's what I picture. And I think it's hurting the party, though. I think, I don't think that very many Americans like this. We can't support Israel. We can't support Ukraine at all. Like, I think that there's a lot of people that are starting to move towards general Republican kind of like policy ideas and understand where the government has gotten way out of control and where some of these problems are. But they're not moving over to Republican because they think that the Republicans are crazy. Concerns me. How about the $8 an apple at Whole Foods? Oh my gosh, yes. I TikTok didn't show me that video, but I did hear about it, and it's getting pretty wild. I hope that apple was like a what are these super apples called? What's the best apple? What's it called? How come I can't remember the name of it? The apple. Did you know that there's like this apple review site? No, it's not a Honeycrisp. It was on Reddit, and like this guy had this whole website where he had tried all of the different apples. No, it's a cosmic crisp. That's what it is. So a cosmic crisp is they took a honey crisp, they removed a little bit of the bitterness from it, they made it look red, and they made them bigger. And that is a cosmic crisp. It is a super apple. It is like the culmination of hundreds of years of apple, how would you say, cultivating species of apples. We've arrived at a cosmic crisp. So if you were spending $8 for an apple, I would hope that it's a cosmic crisp or better. There actually is a type of apple that's even better than a cosmic crisp, but you basically only get them in October. So September, October, keep an eye out for. Oh, I wish I could remember the name of the Apple review website. Apple rankings, that's right. Apple rankings. Baking apples, cider apples, sour apples. How apples are ranked. He says that the Honey Crisp is better than the Cosmic Crisp. He thinks that the Cosmic Crisp is like over rated. Is a Sweet Tango the one that's available in October? Yes. The downside of the Sweet Tango, other than needlessly lopping off the T from sweet to form the repulsively frolicsome word sweet, is its paltry robustness. Get these apples before November 1st, or you'll be cursing my name as you bite into a hollowed out balloon of an apple. And if in the Western Hemisphere, don't be fooled into buying New Zealand Sweet Tangos in the winter. They can't handle the trip. There you go. Sweet Tango and then Honey Crisp. Kansai, that's a new one. Yeah, I have the Cosmic Crisp on. Oh, here it is. He rates Cosmic Crisps as average. I love it. My son likes the Cosmic Crisps the best, I think. Yes. Same Sweet Tango as here in New Zealand. Yes, because what he's saying is that they only grow them in like New Zealand and some other place, and like they don't last for very long. So basically you can only get this kind of apple like in October. Get them in October, and then the rest of the year they usually aren't there. AppleRankings.com, good grief. Okay, so Tasuf Ahmed asked, what are your thoughts on Sierra Charts? So Sierra Charts is kind of like a trying to be a jack of all trades. So it's written in C++, but then they've gone around and basically stolen features from all of the other platforms. So Sierra Charts is a pretty good platform. There is monthly costs for it. It's actually a little bit deceptive because it is slightly cheaper than what I use, which is Jigsaw. It's slightly cheaper, but only by like $10 or something like that per month. The main difference is though that Sierra Charts doesn't have a you don't have to pay up front, right? To get Jigsaw, you have to pay $500 first to even get a license, and then there's a trading license after that. Whereas Sierra Charts, they basically just have the monthly charge, and because they provide the data and everything, it's kind of all baked into their data platforms fees, which is why it's kind of deceptive. Okay. I think that a lot of people, the reason I say that is because I think a lot of people gravitate towards Sierra Charts because they're trying to spend as little as possible when they are starting out. And if you're really looking to spend as little as possible, you probably want to go towards broker-specific platforms. Most brokers will have a platform that they support. Like, for instance, if you go to Optimus Futures, they have a version of Watchtower, essentially, that you get for free. Okay, so that's usually the cheapest way to go. But I would say that Sierra Charts is one step below Jigsaw, but it's a pretty good platform. It's stable. It is difficult to set up. So if you are not a tinkerer, Sierra Charts is probably not for you. Very hard to set it up, yeah. Like, there's so many settings, and the settings are in such weird places and are organized in a weird way, and they don't have very good explanations of what all of the settings do either, so it's kind of hard to get started. Jigsaw charting can't hold the candle. Well, yeah, Jigsaw charting is not very good yet. But I would say that the only reason Jigsaw charting isn't very good is because they don't have custom indicators. Like the base chart itself is great now. Sounds like a whole lot of distractions. Yeah. Well, so the thing that bothers me the most about Sierra charts is that if you want an acceptable DOM, they have an acceptable DOM. It's just that like with Jigsaw, the DOM that you get out of the box is perfect. And whereas Sierra charts, you have to do all sorts of crazy setup in order to get something that's workable. So most people are chart traders. Well, but if you're a chart trader, I think you should just go to NinjaTrader. I think that the system that they've got in NinjaTrader and the chart trader that they've got in NinjaTrader is leagues above anybody else in the future space. What is that? I remember that hitting me when indicator app stores became a thing back with MT4. Oh my gosh. MT4 is, yeah, that whole thing. Because on the MT4 app store, you can like buy robots and it's such a scam. Oh my gosh. Like everything that you can buy on that app store is just trash. Always use the, oh, I forget who that is or what they make. Oh, RT. Yeah. I'm trading Apex accounts and thought of Quantower and MotiveWave, but Sierra Charts is cheaper. But don't those Apex accounts let you trade NinjaTrader for free? Or did they change that? Last time I did it, they had NinjaTrader for free. I guess all of the other platforms have gotten in now. I'm pretty sure they started out as NinjaTrader, didn't they? You know, the funny thing I think is, okay, custom indicators are a very integral part of what I do, and but the thing is that I really don't think that they should be custom indicators. I feel that the Speculator Seth indicator suite that I have at speculatorseth.com, that's $100. I think that it should be built into NinjaTrader. I feel like that these are tools that like to have a well-rounded, reasonable platform you should have. I've been trying to get them into Jigsaw. I hope that eventually they'll get around to it, but I think that they've got other things going. Sorry, Jigsaw. Did I say Ninjas? Anyways, Jigsaw. I really, the biggest thing is I want Jigsaw to make a market analyzer, a quote board. I really want the Jigsaw version of this. That would be so freaking amazing. But anyways. NinjaTrader doesn't like you finding edges in order flow. That's why they don't let you access their order flow suite programmatically. Yeah, I don't know. It's a really weird thing, Uzi. There is another indicator out there that they have that you don't get access to because it's considered proprietary or whatever, and it's like really unnecessary that it would be like that. But you can access their order flow suite programmatically. It's just that like there are some pieces of information that don't have public interfaces that you think would. Like in particular, they're set up for what do we call these, footprint charts. Doesn't really let you access the individual footprints, and you'd think that it would. But you can still program with like their cumulative delta, for instance. And that's where it gets weird for me, is that it's like, okay, so they have this cumulative delta indicator. It's behind a paywall when it's something really easy to program and make yourself, right? And so I have my own version. I have all of these indicators that like are, you know, analysis of cumulative delta and whatnot. But I'm afraid to put them out because that's part of NinjaTrader's paid thing, you know? Whatever. At the time that they made it, that was, you know, it was a big enough deal of a thing. Nowadays, I kind of feel like it's that they would benefit more from giving it to everybody and allowing people to make indicators on top of it. Except for maybe the footprint chart. I don't know. Morgan's case says you can use anything you can. Well, but I think you can connect it to Rhythmic with NinjaTrader. They would have a NinjaTrader version that uses Rhythmic rather. I don't know why they wouldn't. Whatever. It's kind of weird. I'm really happy with my platform. I really like, you know, like, part of me wishes that I could just use all Jigsaw stuff, but that's only because NinjaTrader kind of is trying to coerce you into using NinjaTrader brokerage, and I don't want to use NinjaTrader brokerage at this time. I really like my edge clear, but I really like NinjaTrader. I really think it's a good platform, man. It's just, I can just do anything with it. It's not perfect by any means, but I think it's so much better than the other charting software out there. The only one that I think holds a candle to the NinjaTrader charting is TradingView, and that's a completely different kind of thing, because it's a web app. I don't see myself trading with TradingView. I do think I could make my own platform. I think it would be a better platform than the platforms currently existing out there. It'd take a long time. It would probably be like take a team of 4 a year to make. So it would take a lot of money to invest into. And the improvements that you would get from it would, I think, be pretty incremental. But I do think I can make a better platform than what's out there right now. I tried footprint chart with NinjaTrader and it got so slow I could move the DOM. I couldn't move the DOM or any other window. Really? I don't like the way that NinjaTrader 8's footprint charts scale. Oh, you know what? I had my own version of that did that. I don't know. That would be like really low on the list, but if we're like bored, maybe remind me someday and I can go and fix up my footprint chart so that you can use it. That's kind of weird, Telsu. Especially if you're just using the built-in ones from NinjaTrader. That's where I would do. Here's what I would do if you try to ever get into that again, is if you pull up the NinjaScript output window and right-click on it, there is a NinjaScript utilization monitor, and then you can see how much like CPU time different things are using. Don't use Rhythmic API, they're useless. Why is that? Because I think I was kind of someday planning on getting Rhythmic API if I ever got the chance to do market by order data. Trade copier, yeah, you guys in the trade copiers. Nah, don't use it in the task manager. Do use the NinjaScript utilization monitor inside NinjaScript and see what is using it, because it's probably a custom indicator. It's usually a custom indicator that's causing problems. So this morning I cooked eggs, and I decided to use a little bit of bacon grease to cook the eggs. And I think I put way too much bacon grease on that because I can still kind of like, yep, that was too much. Like my body has absorbed the fats and now I'm like tasting it. Like it's coming back out. I'm gonna be like sweating bacon juice. I smell myself. I know, I smell pretty okay. It's okay so far. It's only 7:55. It's been a long session today, guys. Yeah, really, the treasuries really haven't done a whole lot interesting. I would say at this point that it's unlikely. This is probably better for us to sit on our hands and not trade today in the treasuries. Okay, Smitty says, I have RAPI plus. Support is pretty useless. It seems there's only one guy. Oh, well, that wouldn't surprise me. But that doesn't mean that like the interface for it should be pretty simple. No? Even if you were making your own interface for it, that would, you know, they shouldn't have to tell you a whole lot. You might have to have a lot of skill to do it, though. You know, like I bet you that if it was me trying to figure out how to make my own connector for it in like Rust or something like that, that could be something that would take me a long time to figure out. But once you have it figured out, it should just be just the same as the connection in NinjaTrader. So I don't know. Oh, you did do it. So there's this guy in chat that, if you heard us talking the other day about making like a countdown timer sort of a thing in Rust. And so we made one. And it is in Rust. Let's look at it. Because the whole thing would be... what they use. He's using Bevy. Oh, it's a data-driven game engine. Well, that's interesting. You have to add market data agreements and a bunch more BS for it to work. Well, yeah, I mean, like, it's like it's $150 a month, right? First time I've heard the new squawk today. That's how slow of a day it is. You went with CTS because you can talk with the devs on Discord. Okay. So the reason why I would maybe want to use Rhythmic API is because I can still do this thing where I pass it into Rhythmic Trader Pro and then forward that to all of my other things. Let's see here. They're telling me there's news at the top. Oh, Eurozone consumer confidence. Okay. Oh, I didn't wait. No, you're not. Wait, how did I mix that up? I think I knew that at one point, but I had forgotten it. Why didn't you use Brad? He's telling me what his name on Discord is and helping me match it up with who you are in chat. And I'm like, wait, that's Brad? Why would his name be Newbie on the Discord? Why wouldn't you just use Brad on the Discord? Oh, that's funny, dude. I did not realize. Yes, that's the engine. Okay, so when you do it, it doesn't like force you to run it as a full screen application or anything, does it? Oh, yeah. I mean, you can change your name on Discord anytime you want. The stream was freeze on your side, you could hear it. Maybe you need a system reinstall or something. Asif? Tausif Ahmed? Okay, yeah, you send me the whole thing and I'll try compiling it. Because when I was looking at doing this, I'm like, so when he said that he had written something, I was immediately like, okay, what kind of weird thing is he got for me? Because when I tried doing this sort of thing before, I had found like a pretty good example of like a clock built in a GUI framework. And I had a very difficult time getting it to do a lot of the things that I wanted it to do. Like to be able to just like draw something with transparency, it wasn't doing it. So he's using a game engine framework instead. That's really interesting to me. Especially if, you know, I can use that game engine to make other things, make actual games, you know? So maybe it's worth starting with that instead. Because it's one of those things that like once you get like a good framework underneath you and you've got the right, you know, the tools that you want to use, that, you know, it's just kind of like snowballs, you know? You just could start getting more and more ideas and you just do more and more stuff. I don't have nearly enough time to work on these sorts of things as I would like. We got to do something about the free time and the kids and stuff. Should be like the kids should all have like assigned child watching time. I have to choose. Well, Motive Wave, when I tried it, it seemed like it was an okay platform. Say, most of the platforms you got out there that provide order flow tools are good and get the job done, so. Oh, I don't know what Smitty is responding to here, but you don't. I can flick you the documentation in sample code, all console apps. Well, that doesn't bother me. I mean, if I got a sample code that just got me the messages coming up over, that's all I would need. Of course, I would want to. I don't know. I have mixed feelings about this, but I kind of want to do these things in Rust. Maybe I'm overhyped. There's a lot of people that don't like Rust and think that it's overhyped. And my understanding is that the developer experience in Rust is kind of complicated because they have this whole idea of like ownership where a thread or a method will own a variable and then it can loan it to other places. And there's all sorts of strange algorithms and complicated frameworks that you have to use to be able to manage that. And so some things that would be really simple in other languages are just like really painful in Rust. And they're still kind of figuring out how do you do a GUI under this kind of, you know, scheme. How do you do this thing and that thing? And, you know, so maybe Rust is just not mature enough to do some of the applications that we want, at least as easily as we want, you know? See if you can compile it on Windows. Okay, I'll give it a try today. I don't know if I don't think I have any of the Rust stuff installed on this machine. No, I have to think about if I want to do that on this machine or elsewhere or what. One of the things I really hate is like when you do software development and you have to pull in all of these different kind of libraries and stuff, and it like you junk up your system really quickly, you know? I kind of try to do that with like keep all that stuff to my work machine. But I'll try that later. Hopefully today, maybe tomorrow. Hopefully, I don't know. I got this thing, like I got so many things on my list of things to do. Where is it? This one? No, that was a gear rush list. I was looking at it, I was like, should we buy more gear? And I'm kind of thinking no. I would like to get a new audio interface, but not yet. Oh, I have, what's this one? Oh, this is a different one. There we go. If we get the countdown timer out, if Brad's start there on a countdown timer thing is good, and I can run with that, that would knock one of them out, and then I can update our Candlestick++. That'd be an easy. I really should be going. Oh, I totally forgot about this. I think I can tell you guys now. So we are going to be on the Ninja Trader YouTube channel. Let me double check my days here. Yeah, next Wednesday. So there's a Federal Reserve next Wednesday, right? And so we're going to be there both Wednesday and Friday. Yes. We'll do it after the stream. I said, like, I could just keep my stream going and then, they could hear on both sides. And I think that would maybe get more people interested, but they said they can't do that. So, but basically, we'll end our stream at the usual time at 11 o'clock Eastern time, and then I'll go over and be over there for 30 minutes. And yes, it's like low really. But apparently they're kind of expanding on it a little bit. They're staying live a little bit longer and trying to pick up more features and stuff. So we've got a couple of things scheduled with them, and we'll see how it goes, and then if they'll decide if they want to continue from there or not. But so in anticipation of that, I would really, really like to have our video on momentum get released on Monday. Better up your game, yeah. I guess. But the reason why I was thinking about that is because there's a couple of little goodies and stuff that we've had that, like, you can get them from the Discord, but for some reason recently I've been having a lot of people having a difficult time getting those. So I think that I need to create a better downloads section on my website. I don't know. Well, I have to look. I don't know if I necessarily want all of those things to be downloaded from my website, because that's a lot of bandwidth. But if we're keeping it below a few megabytes, if it's below megabytes, then it probably should be okay. Are we moving? I don't know if it's moving up, but I hope that it will help the channel a lot. And I think that, when you have people, you're having like that personal interaction with people and talking back and forth, you can get a lot more out of somebody. So I think it'll be nice. I think it'll be fun. I think it'll be fun for us, right? I think all you guys will come in there and head over to the Ninja Trader one and have a fun time listening to me talk to some other people. Oh, I missed that Octavius had gone long. The 30-year has kind of been more bullish than the others, so we're still getting flattening today. Well, for a range trade, that's not bad. I guess if there was a trade in the range, that's where I would want to do it, right? But I always hate those, because whenever I do that, that's when it decides to break out, right? I just can never seem to win at that game. Nothing beats .NET framework for yeah. I don't think it will always be like that though. I'm kind of looking at the programming world. I guess lately I've just spent a lot more time like reading programming subreddits and seeing what programming creators are doing and stuff like that. I kind of feel like that there's not a lot of very good content creators in that field, but whatever. It'd be a hard thing to create YouTube videos for anyways, right? And what I see is a world that is very much ready to like shift, but doesn't know where it's going yet. So like I've noticed among these beginning programmer types, or like not beginning programmer types, but the people that are just coming into programming right now, there's a much greater willingness to spend time on the command line, use more traditional tools to develop with, use advanced text editors like NeoVim and things like that, and a willingness to try out new frameworks. And I do think that like some people are kind of a little bored of React for the JavaScript side. There are some people kind of latching on to Golang and Rust, but like there's like Golang is really great if you're doing back-end server development, but I don't know if it's really very good for front-end applications on the desktop. Rust maybe would be better, but it's kind of immature in that respect too. So like I do kind of wonder if there comes a point where it's like there's a flood and then all of a sudden everybody kind of makes a shift into a different kind of paradigm of things. You know? It's there. And I'm just kind of waiting to see if it happens or not. But maybe I'm waiting for something that never happens. But so yes, we'll be on the Ninja Trader stream at 11 Eastern time on May 1st and 3rd. And then also after that for CPI on the 15th. Maybe I could do some of that right now. Well, let me see here. I don't even know where I put that stuff. Where did I put that stuff? No. Yeah, where did I put it? Oh, maybe it's because I have it on my work machine. Maybe I don't have it on this machine. Probably should have it on this machine though. Now's a good time to turn the laptop on anyways. I'm still looking for it. Now I'm trying to think about what's the I don't even remember what I use for things. Hold on. There we go. Well, if I have WinSCP installed, then I definitely have done it before, but like apparently... Oh, because I used it to send stuff to the server, but not to actually... Yeah, not to actually do anything. What about on this side? Dude, using the search on Windows 11 start menu is like such a terrible experience. I guess I have to go and pull it off of the server. That's a little concerning that I've lost it on my local version, but that's okay. We shall live. Oh boy. Oh boy, something serious is happening with AMC's stock? Well, I'll humor you and check out the chart, but I'm super skeptical. You're in super big trouble, mister, if there's not something really cool to see on this chart. Well, I'm not too impressed. Well, I mean, on Friday it did increase like what? 291 to 225, 30 cents. Did increase 10%. I don't think that that's just like 2020 though. I think that you're trying to pump and dump stocks, friend. No, that's not a friend. Friends don't pump and dump stocks to friends. You're not a friend. But are charts something you would include in your own platform? I have not in mind too much of a hassle. Yeah, I would. I think so. I think that if I was making my own platform, I would maybe start with charts, to be honest. I think that if I was going to make my own platform, that my primary goal would be to like sell it. And so you would have to have charts. Would have to be an essential part of it. But I also think that the probably the killer feature of a platform that I would make is that custom indicators and strategies could be done in Python. I think that I would want to have it set up that you could do that in Python. You know what? Probably shouldn't have this armed. So actually, it's when you think about it, it's kind of weird that none of the major futures trading platforms allow you to program things in Python. But I think that if you had Python, that would open up so much. Oh, I forgot about this. The CME Group is doing a commodities trading challenge that starts May 12th. I don't know if there's enough time between when that starts for me to get something ready for that. But that would be a good opportunity to try a swing strategy, right? I guess we could just try winging it. Hey, that was a pretty good run right there in the treasuries, man. That was way better than anything I thought we would get today. I'm not seeing anything on Twitter or anything, but... I've not been up on my Discord messages. You know what, though? I feel like every time I go and I look at my messages, I have to say this, guys. If you can get to the point in the first message that you send, that's so much better. Because usually I will not see it when you send it. I might not see it until days later. And then I'll respond, and we're supposed to be like starting a conversation, and then you bring up what it is that you want or whatever, right? And then that could be like 2 weeks, right? Whereas if you just say the thing that you want like right then and there,
blocks,
you know, you get the answer right away. Okay, now that's interesting. So we saw some pretty aggressive order flow on the way up here, and now somebody is pretty aggressively pushing back against it. Bloomberg 4 years ago when Trump threatened to ban TikTok. Its Chinese parent considered selling. Not anymore. TikTok digs in to fight US ban. Wow, really? That's interesting to me. So does that mean that TikTok will get banned? Well, Elon Musk better hurry up with that Vine, right? I guess we can do YouTube Shorts. YouTube Shorts aren't terrible. Seeing some decent upside in oil here. The rest of the markets are kind of, like even the S&P. Like the S&P did drop there, and I don't want to minimize the drop because it was a fairly reasonable drop. But like it's still range bound from the chart, so. Make it user-friendly. Most traders are not programmers. Yeah, well, I think that making it Python would definitely make it more friendly. You know? And if you made it Python, you'd be able to use all of these crazy frameworks that people have built for Python to do trading stuff in Python. Trading naked means you should take off all your clothes at the PC. I wonder if that sell really was just somebody saying, well, there's no reason for us to move up here, so I'm gonna call shenanigans here and try and shove it back down. It seemed awfully aggressive. Gavin Newsom just released a new ad saying Trump is going to order police to stop women crossing state lines and force them to take pregnancy tests. Oh my gosh, is this an actual commercial? And there's a cop and he's oh my gosh. He holds up a pregnancy test, and then the next picture is the girl on the front of the car being arrested. What is this? This is so dumb. Oh, I don't think that has any chance of happening, but okay, whatever. Whatever. I'm interested to see if that ad picks traction up, if Democrats all buy it or not. I felt if I were to sell my software, I'd have to add rhythmic CQG trade. Yeah, you probably would. So I'm saying that, like, I really think to do a thing properly, it would be like a year's worth of work. It would probably be like a full-time job for a whole development team. Oh wow, today there's an official trailer out for Deadpool and Wolverine. And it has Hugh Jackman as Wolverine in a, classic Wolverine looking costume. I'm excited. Oh, look, here's a thread on Wall Street Bets about that story you guys told me about earlier. New York Stock Exchange test views on round-the-clock trading. Lose money 24/7. Yes, there you go. I'd rather they have 1 or 2 trading hours on Saturday because every time the market closes on Friday, there's immediately a new war in the Middle East or something to that effect. When China invades Taiwan, it will be right after the closing bell on Friday during a holiday weekend. Do you think that perhaps the geopolitical risk may be part of why they're considering doing that? Yeah, and people have to work, so when they get home, the market is closed. It's really dumb. Okay, that would be really interesting if the NYSE introducing 24/7 trading created a new market for, the people that are only trading after they get home, or they're only doing transactions after they get home from work. That would be very odd. Crypto says hi. Robinhood 24-hour hasn't been too bad. You're trying another long? For 28? Oh, in ZN. In ZN 28? Ooh, okay. I don't know. I'm still not seeing enough support for putting any risk on today, but it did break out higher, and it might do it again. I would probably, if I was forced to, I'd probably say that we're more likely to make another new high than we are to make a new low. As someone who works in the industry, I don't think this is going to be a thing talking about 24/7 trading, nor does anyone really want this other than the exchanges. Yes, algos run most of the trading these days, but humans still need to parameterize them and babysit them, so that's going to be more people to hire and manage, and compensation is by far the #1 expense of trading firms. Liquidity has never been there. Just look at VIX and SPX overnight sessions. Nothing trades and markets are wide. Most trading happens at the open or near the close. Even during the middle of the day, relatively not much happens. Firms' entire technology stacks depend on a long overnight window, and applications and algos expect to restart nightly. We don't need to optimize for certain situations because we expect a 15-hour maintenance window. Moving around to round-the-clock trading means a huge expense of upgrading systems. That's totally true. No one wants to work overnight or on weekends. One of the best perks of working equity markets is I never have to do on-call duty outside of regular business hours. Build it and the liquidity will come. I don't know if you'll ever get as much liquidity as you do at the open and close zone. So Wall Street can hire a night shift to screw me? No thanks. I don't know if I really have an opinion on whether we should or should not do it, or whether we will or will not do it. I guess we would just have to see what happens. I guess I kind of suspect that this would be something that you'd hear people talk about, but then you never see anything happen. That's what most trial balloons don't fly, right? Well, there's 26. What we got? 20 minutes left still? Mercedes becomes first automaker to sell autonomous cars in the US that don't come with a requirement that drivers watch the road, per Forbes. Really? Is that really a thing? I can't imagine. Oh yes, here's a thread relevant to my interests. What is it like for a millennial to have a midlife crisis? I would like to know this too. What is the midlife crisis for millennials? Can I have a, I think that sounds fun. Let's have a midlife crisis. Okay. As an elder millennial, age 41, I was wondering if anyone here has experienced a midlife crisis and what that entails for people in our generation. The official definition of a midlife crisis is a lack of confidence in self-identity in early middle age. But that hasn't happened to me yet. Well, I was wondering what other people are going through in regards to this. Oh, no, I don't think I've felt that at all. I felt like maybe getting divorced was my midlife crisis. Oh, I guess getting divorced could be considered my midlife crisis. I get frustrated sometimes, to be honest. I think that this feeling that I have is something to kind of like question. But like I often feel like, wow, I'm doing pretty good and I have pretty good systems set up that would benefit other people. And then I go online and I see what people are saying about life, and I feel like that everybody that's talking is an idiot, Especially TikTok, because you get a bunch of these clueless 20-year-old kids trying to give you relationship advice and everything. I'm like, I don't think you know what you're talking about yet. Dude, if you get 28 here on this next push, I'm going to be awfully impressed, because when Octavius, or was it Octavius? Yeah, when Octavius talked about taking it, it was dead. So, I mean, that's like the perfect kind of trade that we want to take. It's like, it's not doing anything, and we get in before the impulse comes. But not too far before the impulse comes. Although it might... it's 2 more ticks. I think that they could do it, but it might be tight. I'm thinking about Smitty's stuff now, because he just says he closed out a BTP position, but I'm still a little confused on why you've been building out your own platform. Oh, they're gonna clear it. They're stepping up to the plate. Okay, little nibble. Oh, that was a strong take at 28. What do you think is going on here today? Because I would say that buying is relatively aggressive. Let's say more aggressive than anticipated during this kind of situation. By the way, that 28.5 takes them to the stop out zone. In what way? Well, what is it that the platforms that are available don't do that would justify putting in all of the work to make your own? Just for the fun. Okay. Just for the fun of it is a different thing then. See, the thing that I think is missing from platform. Do I have a note about this? Wait, let's go back. What are these untitled notes? Okay. Okay, that's a weird note too. Huh. I must have written it in Google Docs. No, it's not there either. Wouldn't be in indicators, would it? No. Oh, that's funny. Should rename that one. Don't need it anymore. That's funny. Well, we can make one. Okay, I think that my ideal platform would be written in Rust to be performant but memory safe. And I think that my ideal platform would allow indicators written in indicators and strategies written in Python. My ideal platform would have statistical tools built in. What else? Built-in spreads. Cross-instrument trading, which is something that Jigsaw recently added. What else? I don't know. I had way more ideas than that, but that's, I think, the biggest one. I think I had a document written somewhere where I kind of said, here's what I would put in it, making my own platform. I'm going to go back and find it someday. Can't find it. I don't know. Oh well. That wants me to time to go though. Auto spreader? Oh, there you go. That would be an idea. Well, you did get the 28.5 before we had to go. And it looks like they're maybe kind of topping off, but I really don't know what's driving that. I feel like, well, I don't know. I don't know if that's enough of a push that I really have to say that something was driving it. I do find the impulses to be a little bit random. Like that's a pretty strong impulse to come in on a Monday out of nowhere, you know, without any kind of news or anything going on. But it could be endogenous, so I don't think that I'm going to stress it too bad. We'll see if they continue higher for the auction or not. Anyways, I think it's time for me to get going, so I will see you guys tomorrow. In the meantime, stay excellent, team.